The Game Changers Incorporated presents Eric Boles. As the leader of the Game Changers Incorporated, Eric travels the globe sharing his powerful and challenging insights on leadership, peak performance, managing and leading change, teamwork, and cultural transformation. Besides keynoting meetings and events, both domestically and internationally, Eric is also a trainer, consultant, and executive coach. His leadership and employee development programs have been translated into 7 different languages for clients around the world. Prior to his corporate work, Eric played in the National Football League for the New York Jets and Green Bay Packers, where he was introduced to many of the principles of high performance he shares today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I actually had a coach who told me one time, hey, you got a lot of potential, 18. I was like, oh, thanks, coach. He's like, that just means you haven't done anything yet, okay? Here's what I do want you to understand, is that the reason why this conversation about what our potential is so important, and our potential that we have is not necessarily, now here, I'm talking to leaders now, I'm talking to the leaders. It's easy sometimes for your people to confuse our numbers with our potential. Our numbers with our potential. Our successes with our potential. They are not one and the same. Because sometimes our numbers are good, and it's not downplaying how good we are. But sometimes we're that good because who we're competing against is that bad. And if you make the standard just being a little bit better than who you're competing with, they may not be that good, so they can't be the standard. It's okay to have a benchmark, but the real question is, what would this look like if we were actually reaching our potential? Not how well are we doing in comparison to who we're going against. Does this make some sense? I'm telling you, when leaders get this changes the game. It's important that we spend time giving clarity to our team about where we're going as an organization. But here's some information you should also have. Where do they want to go? What do they want to do? What matters to them? Now, here's what I want you to understand. This is the principle now. Your people will help you accomplish your goals, but they're only going to do it for their reasons. Your goal, their reasons. What are their reasons? When they get a chance to sit there and identify what matters to them. It's not just what matters to A Wireless. It's not a strong enough motivator. Yeah, we got all these things that measure, but I'm telling you, what I'm describing right now is like a performance-enhancing drug. I mean, when your boss comes to you and tells you, this is what the company is about, but tell me something. What do you want? What do you desire? What are your goals? Not just at work, but in other areas of life. And sometimes the only thing the boss does is walk in and ask, so how's your goals coming? Do you feel like you're moving towards them? Do you know how that is so powerful, because all of a sudden it causes me to get excited about the goals and the visions of the organization. Many times I ask leaders, I said, what's the quality that a leader must possess for you to willingly follow them? What's the quality a leader must possess for you to win? I'm not saying they're still not positionally ahead of you. I'm talking about for you to willingly say, I'm following that leader. What's that quality that that leader must possess for you to willingly follow them? And you hear all kinds of answers. I want you to think about that, because I'm going to have you have that little conversation at your tables. But here's what's interesting. The next question I typically ask is, what's the evidence that that leader possesses that quality? And almost every time the evidence is what they do, not what they say. You know what I discovered is that they say that the nerve endings from your eyes to your brain are 25 times larger than the nerve endings from your ears to your brain. So that means what you say has very little impact in comparison to what you do. So when you're coaching your people, speak to the greatness in them, not just the weakness. Speak to the greatness in them, not to the weakness. But just let them know, now I'm in the business of allowing your greatness to shine that much more. You're going to still coach them similarly, but now the umbrella, the theme that's over the top of it is so different. I now hear it differently, because now it doesn't sound like just criticism. It sounds like an investment to allow me to become great. The real thing that I pay attention to and care about is, are they learning with me and not just listening to me? I mean, what are they thinking about? What are they capturing? Am I triggering a thought? Are they thinking of specific individuals or situations when they're hearing my information? Many times I know I'm told, we would love to have you inspire our people, have them walk out with hope, feeling good. And I believe in all that. But I'm, even in my playing days, being motivated to like run faster, when it's not motivation you need, sometimes it's directional change that you need. And so my goal is to motivate them to actually do something in the direction that the organization wants to go. I was in Florida. I had a gentleman who was leading an organization. He says, Eric, tell my people, let them know. What happens if they don't perform well? I said, what do you mean? Tell them what happens in the NFL. When players don't perform well, when things don't go well, tell them what happens. I said, are you sure you want me to tell them? He said, yes. I said, okay. They fired a coach. So that's how he looked at me. I was like, hey, you asked the question. Okay? That's the answer, right? More importantly, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you only see what you've done so far, or can you still see all the possibilities that are endless? Instead of seeing what you've done so far and going, man, I've arrived, I really did it, can you also see that what I've done so far is just a sampling of what's still possible in my life? That is a mindset. This isn't a feel-good speech. It's not just to make people feel, it's a reality. When a leader thinks this way, it sets the tone for the rest of the team. Here's what I've discovered from a leadership perspective. You give me a leader who's committed to their own growth, you're showing me a team who's completely committed to growth. There's a lot of leaders talk about growth, but the real question, are they about growth? The reason is we're inspired by what we see, not just by what we hear about. This is why I really challenge leaders often, all the things and the stuff I'm going to talk about today. It's important that leaders become what I like to call inspired practitioners of what they preach. It's my practice of it that inspires you, not just my discussion of it. You can see it in action. This is why I'm telling you, the individuals who are always at the top of their game and they stay at the top of their game are the ones you need to spend time talking with. I ask groups every time, everyone who wants to be at the best of what they do. I said, hey, look, do you know who your top salespeople are in your group? Most people say yes. I says, when's the last time you gave them a phone call? When's the last time you had lunch with them? When's the last time you went and specifically spent time with them? Don't do like I did. See, when I was playing NFL, I was playing with the New York Jets. I had a teammate of mine named Paul Wilson. I was number 18 at the time. He was number 89. And here's what we did. Every time you looked at the sideline, you saw 1,889 or 8,918. And we were standing right next to each other. And isn't it funny, the two guys who weren't playing found each other. And what did we do when we found each other? Complain about why we weren't on the field. Now, you would think we would spend time with, I should have been standing as often as possible next to number 80 and 81 and 82 and number 88. I should have been spending more time with Altoon. I should have been spending more time with the guys who were getting it done. No, I talked about those guys, but I spent time with people just like me. Is this making sense? But here's the thing I know. There are times when I want to run around the wedge and not have those conversations. There are times when I want to run around the wedge and not have that conversation with my wife. There are times when I want to run around the wedge and not have those courageous, difficult conversations with my teams. There are times when I want to run around the wedge and not have to make these tough decisions. But when I run around the wedge, okay, when I don't run through it, the consequences aren't just on me. They're on so many others as well. And you all know this, and I'm not telling you something you don't know. I'm hoping this is just a reminder. What wedge is in front of you right now that you need to run through? Now, whatever just came to mind is it. Don't get rid of it. Don't throw it out of your mind like it didn't happen, okay? You know what I'm talking about. Either a person came to mind, a situation came to mind, a scenario came to mind. Run through it. Run through it. It's not nearly as bad as you're imagining it. That's the problem with fear. Until you confront fear, it grows. If you attack fear, it shrinks. When you run through fear, guess what? One of my mentors told me this. He says, Eric, remember, fear is a doorway you walk through, not a house you live in. And too often we allow, not only ourselves, but as leaders, we got to make sure we're not letting our people live in that same place. What if, to the point where it causes people not to move at all? I don't just like keynoting, I love keynoting. I love the engagement with the audience. I love communicating a message, and not only communicating a message, but looking at the people and seeing that they can picture what I'm talking about. They don't just hear it, they can see it in their own minds. I spend a lot of time executive coaching, a lot of time in boardrooms, a lot of time doing cultural transformation and consulting assignments. Therefore, I can step on stage and keynote about things I actually experience. So it's just not great quotes and great this. I get a chance to see what these principles look like implemented because I get to be part of the implementation. So that's what I love. Sometimes it's fun to just be on a stage and inspire and connect. But then I also get the benefit of doing the real work that comes with taking that message and really getting it embedded. And I think that's what also allows me to enjoy when I'm keynoting, because I know what I'm talking about actually works.